Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to build a simple circuit that we can use to control some lights with a joystick. Over here I have a joystick and it's just like any one you'd have in an Xbox controller or a PS4 controller, and you can see that depending on which way I turn the joystick, the different lights turn on. Here's all the materials you're going to need for this project. First you need the joystick. In your kit the joystick comes in two parts and you have to put this little plastic knob onto the actual joystick. Just like that. Then you need your Arduino board. You need a breadboard, two LEDs, any of the colors will work, two 220 ohm resistors. The 220 ohm resistor has 4 bands and then one on the side. The 4 bands should be red, red, black, and black. Then you need 4 female to male wires. These are the kinds that have no pins on one side and pins on the other side. And you need 3 male to male wires. These have pins on both sides. The colors of your wires don't matter. Here's how to put it all together. I'm going to have a diagram in the description of this video that shows everything in more detail, and you can follow that very slowly. But here's basically how to put it all together. First we're going to take the 4 female to male wires, these are the kinds with no pins, and connect the side with no pins to the pins on our joystick. We want to pick the 4 pins, which are G and D, which is ground, plus 5 volts, which is power, VRX and VRY, which are the signal from the joystick to our Arduino board. Next we'll connect the other end of this wire to our Arduino. We'll connect the ground wire to one of the labeled grounds on the Arduino. We'll connect what's coming from 5 volts into the 5V label on the Arduino. And then we'll connect the 2 signal wires into an analog port on the Arduino. So this is A0 and A1 over here. The one that says VRX should be connected to A1. Next we're going to connect all our LEDs together. So remember that LEDs have polarity. This means that the LED will only work one way, and the positive side is always shown with the longer wire. So first we're going to take both of our LEDs and we're going to connect them with the negative side, the shorter side, in this negative strip, the blue line. Remember that with a breadboard, everything in the middle section is connected along these rows, but everything on the outsides are connected along these rows. So we're going to want to connect both of our shorter sides on the LED to the row that runs like this on the side of the breadboard. We'll do the same thing with the other LED. Next we're going to take our 2 resistors and we're going to connect one end of the resistor to the positive side from the LED and the other end of the resistor to another place on the breadboard. Sometimes it helps to use tweezers or pliers to push these into the holes. We'll do the same thing for the other LED with the other resistor. The reason we need to put resistors in our circuit is because if we send the full signal, the full current from this board into these LEDs, the LEDs will blow up. They can't handle that much power. The resistor lowers the voltage so that the LEDs can handle them. Next we'll take 2 of our male wires. These are the kinds with pins on both ends. And we'll connect one from the open end of the resistor to pin 8 on the Arduino, and then the other one from the other end of the open end on the other resistor to pin 9 on the Arduino. So your breadboard should look something like this when you're done, and the Arduino should look like this. Now we have one wire left to run, which is the ground or the negative for both LEDs. We'll connect that to a third point somewhere along this negative strip. And we'll connect the other end to one of the other labeled ground ports on the Arduino. That's all the wiring. So the first thing we always do when we want to write some code for one of these projects is we think, what are the decisions that our Arduino needs to make? The Arduino is the controller of this whole project. It's telling everybody what to do. So what decisions does it need to make? In this case, the decision we need to make is the joystick pointed up or is it pointed down? So the way a joystick works is by sending back some voltage to the Arduino depending on how much it's been pressed. If the joystick is right at the middle, if it hasn't been pressed, it might send out 0. If it's all the way at the top, it might send out a positive value, and if it's all the way at the bottom, it might send out a negative value. So in this code, which I've already shared with you, I've written two little pieces of code that find out if the joystick is up or if the joystick is down. The joystick is up function will say true if the joystick is above the halfway point. And the joystick is down function will say true if it's below the halfway point or if it's pointed down. So all these Arduino programs have two main pieces. There's a setup piece and then a loop piece. What I'm talking about right now is the setup piece, and I'll talk about that for a little bit more. So the other things we need to do in the setup piece is we need to tell the Arduino which ports we're using. So for our LED, since we connected the two LEDs to ports 8 and 9, we say pin mode of 8 is output. This means we're telling the Arduino that it needs to send a voltage to pins 8 and 9 instead of waiting for pins 8 or 9 to send a voltage to the Arduino. The second piece of this code is the loop. And the loop is something that runs over and over and over again. It runs like hundreds of times per second, making all the decisions and deciding whether or not to turn these LEDs on or off. So the first thing in our loop is that we read what the joystick is sending. That's what analog read of A0 is. That reads what value the joystick is, and those two pieces of code I showed earlier find out if that corresponds to up or down. So then here's the main decision the Arduino needs to make. So we say, if the joystick is up, then we want to turn the LED that's connected to 8 on, which is 8, high, and we want to turn the one that's connected to 9 off, which is 9, low. Then we say, if the joystick wasn't up, that's what else if is. Then we say, if maybe the joystick was down, then we want to turn the LED connected into pin 8 to off, and we want to connect the LED that's connected to pin 9 to on. But what if neither is true? What if it's not up, and what if it's also not down? What if it's right in the middle? Then we want to turn them both off. So that's what this else is. If neither one of these two things are true, then it turns both LEDs off. So the way you're going to upload this to your Arduino board is you connect it to your computer with the blue USB cable, and then we select our board first. We go up to Tools, Board, and make sure Arduino Uno is selected, because that's the type of board we're using. And then we go to Port, and we pick the one that says Arduino Uno. Many times if you have other USB things plugged in, it might have multiple things listed here, or it might only have one. And you want to pick the one that says Arduino in it. And then we say upload code. This is the little arrow pointing to the right. And once it's done uploading, our code should work. So here it is. If I move the joystick up, one LED turns on. If I move it down, the other one turns on. So this is a pretty simple project. But there are some ways you can make this more complicated and more interesting. So I want you guys to think about how you can do this yourself, but if you need some ideas to get started on ways to expand the project, here's a couple. You can try getting input from both both sides of a joystick, left and right, instead of just up and down. You can try controlling more than one LED, and you can also think about how you can control, instead of just having up or down, you can control maybe a third LED for the middle. So you can try this all in the code, and I'll post some links where you can get some look at the internet, or you can just email me questions, ask me questions, anything. Alright, that's it.